So getting into phase 2, Damien. Phase 2 is a beast. Phase 2 is unlike anything in this game, to be honest. And it's all mechanics. It is all mechanics. I think a lot of the times if you fail or you struggle to get through phase 2, you think it's just you don't have enough gear, you're not doing enough damage, and it always comes back to mechanics. It just does. And it's usually towards the end of the fight where things fall apart, and we'll talk about it. And it's just one of those things that takes reps. It's very, very hard to just jump into it and expect all 10 players to be on top of their game. There's a reason why Damien, the clear, there's a reason why this is the absolute weapon. You need to clear Damien to get the absolute weapon. There's a reason for that. And it takes a lot of commitment. It's not just gear. We have a lot of strong, our team has some big time DPSers, but most of us are not. We've never had, there's teams in Asia, teams in NA, teams in Enosis, in Scania even, that have better gear than us that we cleared before. Maybe because we were practicing before them, but it's all mechanics, right? How quickly you can pick up the mechanics to clear. So that's pretty much all that this is going to be about. So again, first thing you need to know, skill rotation. I posted up here. Take a screenshot of this. You just got to know it. Someone's got to know it. Now, do you have to know every single skill? No. Use Zephyr's AI callouts. Great. Find what works best for your team. But there are main skills that you have to be aware of, and we'll get into that when we share the video. But there's just so much going on. And we'll break it down to the main 3 most important mechanics. It's orbs, it's altars, and it's positioning. So, starting with orbs. Orbs are going to be you're going to start off with 1 orb. It's going to do about, I don't even know, 10k ticks, 10k, I think. So, it's small. It's not taking very hard, but the thing about orbs that you have to know is that it does 2 things. It's take damage, it does 3 things. Take damage, but it also reduces the damage that you do, and it reduces the effectiveness of potions. The third one is something that I actually didn't know until I looked back at the patch notes recently, and that's a game changer. It's tough. This is why we need stuff like heal and fountain, things like that. And it's a fixed damage. So shell doesn't work, HP decreasing doesn't work. It's going to be fixed. It's going to be there. And so it's not about the damage necessarily at the start. It's just about keeping it away from the team so you can maximize DPS. So one of the things that we really preached was that person or those people with orbs not do any DPS and just focus on the mechanic, moving it away from the team, moving it as far left as possible while keeping the boss on the right side. It's just set in stone. If things get hectic, if the boss moves out of position, positioning's bad, just know boss going force the boss right, orbs to the left. And that just, it takes a commitment from the team, from the players to step away from doing DPS and getting the orbs out of there. And it's really humbling, I think. And it takes time for people to get used to. To be honest, some are better than others. Obviously, less DPS hungry. But the big time whales, the big DPSers, they don't want to move, right? You got to. You just got to. It's better to have 9 out of 10 people doing DPS than it is for you to try to min-max and get your attacks in and possibly cause multiple people to do this damage. You just got to sacrifice for the team. Simple as that. Let's keep that in mind when there's 1 orb, when there's 3 orbs, when they're huge, they're taking 40k. You're doing it for the team. That's kind of the moral of the story in phase 2. Know your role. When you're the orbs, get out of there, take them for the team, Don't worry about your DPS. A clear is a clear. Right? And that's the thing about Damien is where Orb RNG can be so terrible, your damage can fluctuate big time. Like one run I did 20% less. Sometimes I do 60 bill, sometimes I did 50 bill, 53 bill. Like it's over 10 minutes fight, it's huge. So, but you got to do it for the team, right? That's what makes it fun, right? 10 people. Sometimes people got to pick up the DPS. Some people, the big DPS, got to step aside for the Orbs, right? So Orbs is number one. It's just there the entire phase 2. It doesn't go away. That's why it's number one. When it gets hectic, when you see people fail, when you see bad runs, when you see good runs, it's usually Orbs. Get Orbs away from the team. The first thing we scream is Orbs, Orbs, Orbs. It fall apart real quick, right? Second thing is altars. So what you got to know about altars, right, is that altars is every about 48 seconds. So the way I found this out was that it pops up every 3 branding cycles, I think, or every 7 branding cycles. It's a lot. So basically, right, 7 out of 7 is a branding, right? Creates the rod is on the ground. Makes sense. So essentially, you have 2 opportunities, probably less, 2 opportunities to clear an altar before you're going to get rotted on, essentially, right? Usually less. So, makes sense. And altars, the mechanic is, if you take damage away on the altar, is to fill the gauge of the altar to clear branding stacks. Branding stacks, like we said, clear it for everyone on the team. There's a white altar and a black altar. White altar is one person only, can stand on it, is going to get filled the gauge, remove their branding if they fill it up. Black altar is the entire team. White altar we don't really focus on. It's just kind of waste of time. Rather have you doing DPS. Maybe situational, but a lot of times it's just we don't know, we don't track it, so it's kind of hard to prep for it. Black altars you can track easier, and it's just more effective, more effective with your time and resources. So the gauge fills up the fastest when you have 5 people on it, only 5. If you have 6, it's actually going to go down. So you need to have 5 people allocated. This is your job. Every 48 seconds, know when it's coming. Look where it is. It's RNG, so it could be all the way on the other side of the left side. It could be right on top of the boss. It's unfortunate. The thing about this is it doesn't stop when the boss, it's not a part of the rotation. So it could pop up at the exact same time that a dash is coming. It could pop up at the exact same time the tornado's coming. It could pop up the exact same time that he's going to meteor and come down. That's part of it, right? And that's something you just have to adjust to. That's what makes it hard. That's what makes it challenging. You miss an altar, everyone gets branding as well. So everyone gets a stack of branding, and you're one step closer to getting rotted. And rotted is something you just do not want to deal with in phase 2, especially at the end of phase 2, anytime in phase 2, right? It's a DPS race. It's just something you can avoid. And it's just something that, you saw in my phase 1. If you see in the phase 1 video, if it gets too many rotteds on the ground, it gets hectic. And in phase 2, a rotted plus the orbs, plus the dash and dives and things like that, it gets hectic. So ideally avoid it, but it happens if it happens. You miss an altar, things like that. Things happen. But you want to have 5 people, and you want to have 1 or 2 subs, right? So 7 people allocated to altars. This is how important it is. Your team basically has to stop DPSing and just be aware. 5 people, stop DPSing, get in the altar. Possibly a 6th or a 7th as a sub if those people are dead, one of the first 5 are dead, or they're on orb duty, or they have another role that they have to do that they cannot go on the altar. It's important. And if you miss one, it's pretty much a snowball effect, and it's very, very likely that you're going to get rotted on, and it just makes it tougher to clear. Not impossible, but currently in the current meta, makes it very tough. Very tough. Not much room for error. So that's why it's number 2. And number 3 is positioning. Like I said in phase 1, Damien does not move and follow the aggro. He only moves with dives, teleports, and dash. That's it. So, some things you can't control. You cannot control where he teleports to. Sometimes it's just going to happen. He's going to teleport to the person that is all the way in the left corner that's doing orb duty. It happens. You got to adjust. But, the fourth one is slashes. One of the skills, right? Slashes. We'll talk through skill rotations and exactly how much damage it does and what you can do about it. But essentially, you want to control his positioning by forcing his dashes a certain way. So his dashes and his dives, keep the boss on the right side, keep the orbs on the left. Very challenging to do, but crucial just to maximize DPS. It's tough to just talk about it, so we'll just get into video. I'll be right back. I'll pull up our latest run, and we'll just dive in. It's not a perfect run, but it's we'll just walk through it, break it down, and I feel like this is the best way to kind of give you guys first-hand experience about what I'm talking about and what every skill does, and just give you the best guide possible. So, be back. All right, we're back. Phase 2. And if you didn't see phase 1, check out that phase 1 video or portion. But you can see we get there about just under 8:30 left. So phase 2 is a beast. Phase 2 is a beast. So first step first, right? Skill rotation. I'm not going to go through it, but you see the orb right there, 10k. It's small. You can see if you want to know who's orbs, right here. Warren is orb. Knuckle is aggro. Keep that in mind. That's how you identify who has orbs and who has aggro. So first things first, he's going to dive. So dive in phase 2. In phase 1, the direction he faced is the direction that he's going to dive. In phase 2, not always the case. So what we learned is he will prefer, so for one, he'll face the direction he's facing is left right here. He's going to face the aggro, so which was Knuckle. So Knuckle was on the left side. He's going to face that way. So I think one of the things that we could improve on, and you guys will keep in mind, is everyone start on the right side. Simple as that. So he's going to face right, which allows him to, again, we're going to blink up. This is where the blink still comes into place. Everyone's going to fly up. And he's going to target someone in that direction if someone's on the ground, or he's going to target the aggro. So the reason why we blink up is so that we can control who he dashes to and where that dash goes, right? So you'll see here, first he's facing left. Mistake number 1, which is why he faces left. So this is a little blurry for us. I'll be honest, blurry. No one's on the left side. You can see that. Everyone's blinking up. I'm on the bottom in the right corner, trying to get him to dash right. So I think what happened is there either, because he does, even though he faces left, he can dash right, obviously, like I mentioned. But I think what happened is I was too out of range. So everyone's up except for me, right? So I'm deep in the corner, but I think I was out of his range, which is why he just went the farthest left. But this is a good lesson learned. This is good for the guide because, there's a lot of opportunities you'll see when he dies, but this is good for the guide because he goes far left. It happens. It doesn't work perfectly as planned. But we know what skill is coming next. And we know teleport is coming next. You want to start off phase 2 right. So instead of chasing him, right, some of us chase him. We tell everyone, go to the right corner. And this is all about positioning. Positioning the boss correctly. Because if we attack him in the left corner, it's going to mess everything up. It just is. So we tell everyone, go back right. Here. So what does he do? He's going to teleport to the right corner. We control it. We tell Frenchies, get out of there with the orb. But don't go too far away. And he teleports on top of us. Perfect. So the reason why we do this is because we're actually going to stun here and like we do in phase 1. Maximize your DPS. Split, DS4, burst, damage. Now, Is this the most ideal time to stun? Possibly. This is what a lot of teams do. We're still tweaking some things, but the main thing you have to understand, again, I've talked about in phase 1 guide, is that stun is 10 seconds now. So it actually skips 2 skills. But it doesn't skip immunity skills as far as I know. So if you're skipping that dive, it's going to continue to dive. But in this case, if you look at the skill rotation, it's going to skip dive, or it's going to skip dash, and it's going to skip what we call blue hand, which is that stun, the blue orbs in the air skill, right? Just nice skills to skip. Especially if you position them in the right spot. So again, you see this, Frenchie's his orb, he moves out of the way, boss's position on the right side. As you can see, the orb drifts back to the right. That's how you know it's switching. Communicate it, nageling, out of there, right? And everyone is just, everyone is positioned properly. This is what phase 2 is easy. One orb, or start of phase 2 is easy. One orb, 10k orbs is nothing. It's small, warns in and out there, slashes is next. So slashes, I'm going to be honest, I think it's a one shot, but I'm not too sure. When we first started, it was a one shot. I think it may be like 220k or something like that, but the point is, just avoid it. It's easy to see. You have time to avoid it. Avoid it. Don't risk it. Someone can tell me if slashes what it hits for, that'd be great. But I think simple answer, just avoid it. It's easy to avoid. It's easy to see. Just do it. So next skill is going to be dash. So you'll see, oh, actually, we missed the dash. He already dashed. So we'll talk about dash after this. So this is what what we call blue hand, these skills. And this skill is a pain, okay? So ideally, so what we know is dive is going to come next. So we all just fly up anyways. But it doesn't hit hard. It's going to be 90k. See, I died right there. Just died. To Kevin's door. But back to it. We all just fly up, avoid that blue hand, and nothing's going to happen out of it. Just avoid it altogether. And then so we'll talk about that blue hand again when it comes back up. What's the annoying part about it. But here is when the first black altar spawns. So a simple trick that you probably don't know is that I talked about it's every 48 seconds. The first one comes after that first dive. The second one comes after a dive as well. And what we do, as we call out, we just say, after dive, watch for altars. Just every dive after altars. It doesn't line up perfectly. It's not always after dive, but it just gives people kind of that reminder, altars is coming, right? So we're looking out for it. We're not always looking out for it, right? I think that was one of our issues at the beginning. We didn't know when it was coming, so we were always where people were looking. And when you're always looking around, you're just not, it's not ideal for doing DPS. Like, there's so many other things you have to look out for. So when you know, I guess like 5-10 seconds in advance, okay, altars is coming, you can look just for a little bit and you can prep, right? That was a fortunate altar right there. 5 people are on it, easy peasy. They're on their roll, move orbs out of the way, cleared it. Nice, right? 0 out of 0 stacks. Slashes back to middle. Everyone dodges it, easy peasy, and then it's going to be popcorn. So we call this skill popcorn. Some people call it Meteor. We have our Phantom copy, save his Synchro for this skill, this popcorn, to block it. So he's up there blocking it. None of the popcorns come down. This is not necessary, but it's actually quite necessary. So the reason why is because later on in the fights, you'll see that black altars, the one we just cleared, actually comes up pretty much at the same time as this popcorn. So if we don't have a blocker there, there's a high chance that popcorns are going to hit those altar people. And it's just not fun. It's just not nice. And the thing about altars, things you have to know. Fair trade does not work with altars. That's why we don't recommend using fair trade, because it just doesn't. You won't fill the gauge with fair trade on. Iframes, if you're using iframes on the altar, you will not fill the gauge. So we have to keep that in mind when we keep that in mind when we were doing altars, right? On who we chose to select as altars. So we actually have Knuckle or Shade, Shadower. Usually we do like our lower DPS, but sometimes it's just who's the most mobile. So we find out that mages are very good. Just the mages, Sias, bishops, just teleport is nice. Teleport is gets on it quick. So that's why we have Knuckle on there, because Shade's backstep is amazing. And so that's why we have them there. Just the most mobile classes to get there as soon as possible. And we want to have some sort of self-healing. We always want to have a bishop to put their fountain down, to put their heal down. We have phantoms nearby to put their fountain and heal down as well. Getting these altars are huge. And you'll see later on in phase 2 that the orbs, ticks and altars are not a great combination. And so again, we have a blocker here. And then we're going to face him right. We're going to have him dash right. Positioned, everyone dodges it if they can. And 2 orbs. Nice. So far, so good. We're about to get into the end of the first cycle. So dash, teleport, tornado. So tornado is huge right there. We need to have blockers there. The thing about tornado is this: every time you get hit by one of these orbs that get past, it adds a branding stack, and you just don't want to eat those branding stacks. So we have people with Darksight or Synchro blocking each side, and we try to tell people, get out of the corner, stand behind a blocker, whatever it is. Designated roles. Again, communicate if that person's dead for some reason, we don't have a blocker on the left or the right, backups, whatever it is. We got to get blockers up for this Meteors. We cannot be taking branding stacks. It's one of the quickest and easiest ways to fail and snowball, get rotted, get branding, and just fail to run, basically. So Tornado is one skill that is, I don't really talk about that much, but it's such an underrated skill that you have to get right. Getting those blockers up to prevent just a mechanic that can be easily avoided. And then dive. This is the dive to start the cycle again. Again, he's facing left. We have people up, and I think he's gonna dive left again. So we did a poor job there of those dives. And the issue here is, I'll be right back, and then we'll talk about how this second cycle, because every cycle of Damien is different because of altars. So I'll be right back. So the end of that first cycle of skills, and we're getting to the second cycle. And for the second cycle, one of the things you need to know is that first cycle is around 90 seconds. So one of the things that we try to keep in mind is 90-second cooldown skills, like Synchro, for example, which is why we're able to do like Tornado, which is why we're able to block the popcorn skill every single time, is because each cycle is around 90 seconds, give or take a few seconds. So kind of just keep that in mind. It's not exact, so you may want to use the skills a little bit earlier than you want to for the next cycle, but that is sort of something that we learned that may be helpful for you guys when it comes to figuring out what works best for your team comps. One of the things that is always guaranteed is, I guess it's guaranteed because of the stuns, is that altar here, black altar always comes up after that first dive of the second cycle. So one of the issues with that dive going left, and just one of the issues in general, is that this altar is that teleport, and then dash is going to come. Teleport's going to come next, and there's a chance that altar, that you might dash over this black altar. So it's kind of something that is unfortunate, which is why having 190k HP is nice, but it's something you just have to be conscious of and adjust accordingly. So in this instance, for example, you see we didn't have this worry. Altars is on the left. He can dash him right like normal. But for example, if the altar was on the right side, we may have that dash going left. So it just doesn't dash across the whole team, wipe them, and it just allows us to clear that altar. it's just a nice thing to do, something you have to adjust on the fly. So just be aware of that. But see, that worked out nicely. Alter to the left, dash to the right. Everything worked out perfectly. Blue hand here. Again, I think we just avoid it. So Benediction, the reason why Arandi was able to stand under it and not get a blue orb come up was because Benediction actually will eliminate it. She had it. So going through the cycles here, you see this is nice. Orbs are to the left. See, unfortunate teleport where Damien went all the way to the left to the person with the orb, right? Something we can't control, but we can adjust to, right? It happens. We know next is coming dive, so we make sure that he dive him back right. So everyone flies up. He's facing right here, and he's going to dive right to someone over there. And then, though it's not ideal, again, knowing skill rotation is key because we know after this dive is going to be a slashes skill. So we want to have him slash right. And then again, reminding our team, dive happened, watch for alter, right? So slashes, perfect. Repositioned back on the right side, keep the orbs left, black alters coming. So this is where I've talked about previously in cycle 1. If alter, for example, was right here on our skill wheel, it would be an issue, right? Which is why we would have a blocker. So now, see those orbs right there? Still got through on the team, possible affect the altars, but we got there just in time. We got to the altars very quickly. They cleared it. They got out of the way of harm's way of those meteors, those popcorns, and crisis averted. But just understand that this is not every run is like this. That's why you want to have a blocker to sort of reduce the risk, I guess, to double check, to have redundancy within your team for these mechanics, right? So even though it's not ideal right there, it wasn't the greatest block. I know some teams even have a second blocker up there. Doesn't hurt. These are important mechanics. Getting that alter, like I talked about, is extremely, extremely important. And then again, after this, dash to the right, move those orbs. So we're already on 3 orbs with just over 4 minutes left. So you can see 3 orbs is already getting hectic. And for a first-time team that's trying to clear, this is usually where it fell apart. This is where we fell apart very quickly. You have a lot of time, 6 minutes. You think it's easy. It's easy peasy, but the hardest part of this run is the end. So again, we're trying to maintain our mechanics. Orbs are drifting into the left, and you see this is the reason for this is because I mentioned it briefly before. Look at who has orb aggro. Truffalocks. 1 person. Only 1 icon shows up. So what that tells us is that either Truffalocks has all 3 or Edward has 1 or 2 of them, right, as the aggro. So in this situation, kind of a little tip is that if the aggro can move, if dash isn't coming up within the next few skills, that aggro moves the orbs out of the way. So you can see there was a dash right there. I don't know if you saw it, but he dashed to the right. And then orbs, Truffalocks moved to the left. And you can see Edward moved to the left as well. So Edward was our aggro. And then they just switched, right? So he ended up moving there because we know dash happened. The boss isn't going to move. And then they switch, the orb switch, and then we all adjust, right? 3 new people have it. They all move to the left side. Truffalocks, Arandi, Warren. Great job right there. And then blink up again. So blink up again. He's facing left. Kind of an issue. I think he dashes right down on top of the team. Perfect. So that was a nice dive. That was a nice dive direction. Able to reposition him. Standing right underneath him. But it worked out that he was on the right side to begin with. Right? And then again, we're going to go through the cycle. You see I stunned right there. I have orbs. I'm trying to get out of there. So you see again, me and Knuckle have only 2 of us control 3 orbs, right? And again, black altar. So I just jump on it, even though I'm not on orb duty, until people come on. When our 5 people come on, I jump off, right? A little bit of coordination, right? Kind of just being aware of the situation just to help fill the gauge, right? No, it wasn't my role, Once I saw the 5 people come, got off. Simple, easy, filled it. Perfect. Great job, team. So you can see slashes go back to the middle. Something you can't really control is that slash back to the middle and then dash back right. So again, skill rotation, slashes. Ideally, he's going to dash back to the middle or teleport, then an awkward spot in the middle, and then dive. Dive's going to come next. Get that dive going right. Perfect. Get those orbs out of there. Again, you see how the orbs, and one of the issues is once the orbs travel right, a lot of the times, this is kind of just a pro tip, if the orbs are traveling right onto the team and that person doesn't move, by the time they move out, it usually switches to the next person, right? So we have 2 people, or we have the person that's trying to move the orbs, that it's not even their responsibility anymore, and then the person who is orb duty doesn't really notice, and it just gets stuck on the team, right? And it just gets really hard to move that orb back out, right? So it's just something to be aware of. These 3 did a great job of kind of repositioning, but look, they get to the middle. By the time it gets to the middle, it changes direction. And then so I have to be aware. Me and Warren, I think, we're aware of it quick enough, and we're out of there, right? We got it all the way to the left side. So this is ideal, and we want to keep it here, right? Keeping it just so there's more room for error in a sense. It just has to travel much longer to get back to the rest of the team. Us sacrificing, and here we had a call out. Oh, we need a +1. I was a +1. We got it done for that altar. So there we are, looking good. Those guys are juggling orbs. These things tick hard right on the left side. So Truffleox and Knuckle figuring it out, finding openings, trying to use their blinks to fly above it. They try to use their iframes, their ethereal form, their heals, whatever it is, to just tank these orbs or survive it in the corner. And then Tornado on the right. Orb switch, dive back up again. So dive facing left. Wonder how far this one goes. Yep, right on top of the team. So perfect. So now you kind of witnessed bad dives, a few bad dives, a few good dives, and this is where DPS starts to pick up. 4 minutes in, all their cooldowns are back up, burst cooldowns, and I gotta move that orb. Yep. So again, a lot of the times, look, it's 2 people managing 3 orbs. It just happens. It just happens, right? Gotta be aware. Figure it out, survive. Orb moves, slashes dash. And so I'm gonna talk about dash real quickly. I haven't talked about it until now. It happens a lot, but dash direction is crucial. And so how we're able to get this dash when he's pinned in the corner, like we want it to obviously go right. So if he's in the middle, it's easy to force him right. If he's off the corner, in his right corner, it's easy to force him right. But when Damien is pinned in the corner like he is in this instance, right here, what we learned for aggro is to make him dash right every single time. Even though he's pinned, the aggro has to be pinned in the corner and facing right. So again, to get him to go right, dash into the right corner. So here, I don't know if you can see it, but that's the dash icon, and there's dash. He dashed into the corner. And the way he did that was Edward, you see right here, is facing right. He's pinned in the corner, boss in the corner, he's facing right. He tanks it. But that is what you have to do. And that is why we are in this corner, behind the skill wheel. It's annoying. It is, but that is why, and it doesn't work on the left corner. So that's why all the teams you see are in the right corner. Right? So, and that's how he's able to basically make dash obsolete in certain instances, and why, I talked about previously about HP being an issue. If you can get that dash going in the right direction, it's not really, you don't really need that much HP. So we got that altar there, had a filler. Orbs are kind of messy, right? But this is what happens in the fight. It doesn't go perfect, right? Things get hectic. People lose track. And look, we're just trying to get this orb. So I'm orb right here. I tried to pin it into the right corner, and that orb traveled and followed me, right? And so it wasn't ideal, but look, the team did a great job. I mean, Arandi and Warren are usually doing a great job because they're teleporters, and they just push that thing. They do a great job moving it. By the time we get there, it switches. So, and this is the next instance. So 3 minutes left. What we call the world tree comes up. So world tree is basically, it's a Petrify at the 20% HP mark, I think. 20, 25. I think it's 20. And so this is an annoying phase that we try to avoid. So what you'll see in certain videos is that when he petrifies, it's like Pier Clown. It's like Arc Petrify, right, where you have to go left and right to get out of it. And this one's a little longer than both of those. So the orbs don't stop. Altars don't stop. So it's just something we tried to figure out to avoid, and we found out, we learned through a lot of, through pretty much the world first clear that Sephir's team, how to do it. So I'm going to show you right here. So for world tree, how to avoid the Petrify. You want to look at this. So first of all, you want to make sure you have your stun available off of diminishing returns. And you want to look at this word NEX, next. NEX, next. And so usually around this time is when you want to stun, between the E and the X. And so the reason why that is because that is the marker where he's going to petrify. But the reason you stun is because stun, he cannot petrify until after the stun is up. So what we do is we stun, we count forward 8, the full duration of the stun, basically right before it comes off a cooldown, we're going to fly up. So you're going to see everyone blink up, fly up, and we're going to actually not get petrified. So you'll see it's going to come up here. I stun. You see my shield slam. Stun right here. Perfect situation. Orbs it to the left. Boss is on the right. He comes down. We're stunning. We're counting on the timer. 250. And we all go up around 245. Push it past this E and X, NEX marker. And we all fly up. And so, I don't know if you can see, but then he gets petrified. So you'll see right here, he's not doing any skills. I'll try to show a clip of what petrify looks like. But essentially, what happens is it just skips it altogether. It allows you to just do DPS. It allows you to stay in rotation and not have to deal with the mechanic. It's nice, right? Because we all flew up. We didn't get petrified. But one of the things I want you guys to notice is that altars still don't stop, right? So we stunned it. We all fly up. There's the altar on the bottom left. We all fly up, avoid petrify, but we have to get on the altar. And I think we get it. I think they got that. No, they didn't. So, and 3 people died from it. So, just something to keep in mind, right? The game doesn't stop. Petrify doesn't stop. It's the orbs are still moving around. Altars still can come if it's the right time. And then dive right here. Perfect. Dive back right. And we're trying to get the orbs out. So this is where it gets hectic, right? Orbs are taking 40k. Things are getting crazy. Altars are coming in at awkward times. And we're just trying to push through. This is where, staying calm in comms, sticking to mechanics. I know everyone wants to burst it down and everyone wants to just push through. It's so close, right? 2 minutes left. As the timer goes down, it gets people panic. We have 9 lives left, but it can snowball very, very quickly. With one missed altar, with one bad orb, no one's doing damage, deaths. It's happened to us many times, and we've failed because we've choked it at the end. We've choked at the end. It's just simple as that. So we're yelling, get that orb out of there, right? And this is the instance. Edward is aggro, is over here. So that means, he's slashing, I think it must be dash next. Yep, dash. So he took one for the team. He made sure that dash went right, and he died for it. But again, it was like, it gets hectic, right? The orbs are in a bad position. Aggro dies, and Damien, who knows who he's facing right now? Who knows who's in control? It's not a great sight. Alter, we're like, we got to get this one. Stacks are at 4, stacks are at 5. Brandon completed. And this is what I'm talking about, the blue hand. These stuns right here, this is what you want to avoid. So I'll go back a slight second. So I didn't talk about this because we never got hit by it. But you can see this is not great. We call this blue hand. And if it hits anybody, which is going to hit all these people on the black altar right here, creates these globs, like I call globs on the ground, and it's going to reach and stun people. So, and its range is pretty far, so it's going to grab people. So right here, you see these people got stunned right here on the ground, and it's for 5 seconds. So like Frenchies and Warren right there are just taking huge orb tick damage. I think Sia Red saved them, but you can see this is not pleasant. This is not nice. We have a rotted in the middle. Orbs are all over the place. No one's doing damage. Bosses in the right corner. So we're hanging in there. People are dead. Popcorn's coming. We missed the block. It's just everyone is, making mistakes. It happens. Stay calm. Hang in there. Everyone's burst comes at the 9-minute mark, right? That's the time that you have to maximize your damage. You can get through it. Right? So just remember, you may not be doing damage right now, but once those cooldowns come up, you got to pump. You got to do damage. So we're making sure the mechanics are sound. Orbs are being moved. Right? We're yelling, orbs, orbs, orbs. He dashes to the left. He teleports to the left. Unfortunate. Tornado. Block it. We need blockers. We know dive is coming next. We got to get that dive up. Dive to the right. Get it to the corner if we can. Not ideal. Right? Teleport's coming. Teleport. And then dash. He's going to dash right on top of us. Burst it down. It went crazy for a second, but then we finished strong, right? Orbs are to the left. Bosses to the right. Burst it down. Get the job done. So it gets hectic at the end, right? But you can still regroup and figure it out and get that clear. We obviously had a lot more wiggle room here, but this was after, I'll be honest, this was after 90-minute session, almost 2-hour session of a lot of fails, a lot of close calls. Clear realm looks nice. 7 lives left. Really smooth till the end. But it gets hectic, right? And I think that's what you guys have to understand, right? We've had the second most clears in the game. And we still don't have a perfect, right? We don't have a perfect run. It's not a clean situation. And so it happens. But a clear is a clear. Right? Move on to the next one. Get better, improve. But this is what like a DPS chart can tend to look like. Right? Like the aggro has to carry for the most part. If you have one solid aggro, you're in a good spot because then he can control everything and he can control those dives. And that's why it was such a smooth run, because Edward was aggro the entire time. And he could just control those dives and those dashes and things like that and position the boss in the right spots. But it still wasn't as good as he was. It was still teleports were in the wrong spot. Teleports were unfortunate. Dives were unfortunate. Cleared. Huge. So the main takeaway for phase 2. Top 3 priorities. Orbs, altars, boss positioning. Usually, if you're not clearing, these are the 3 areas that you're probably not performing well in one of those areas, multiple areas. Right? If you're not doing enough DPS, if your rotteds are coming through, if you're dying, you're not making it to 10 minutes, it's probably what it is. The basics. DPS will come if the mechanics are there. The DPS will come if you just do, people just know their roles and stick to the mechanics. That's phase 2. That's phase 2. So those are that's all I got for phase 2. A lot going on. I'm going to finish off with some of the most underrated kind of aspects of a team, a good team. And then that'll be the guide. Crazy. Hope you guys get the clear. It's insane. It's a lot of fun when you get it done.